Attention guys! In today's video we have the special tool called Thirdweb free. So, what does it mean? You can use the website to create simple and non-simple contracts using this tool just by clicking deploy new contract. It's very simple, and in this tutorial we are gonna show you how to do that. So, first of all, let's create deploy new contract. As you can see, we have a lot of different options, starting from NFT drops, tokens, splits, and ending with the biggest marketplace. So, did you ever imagine how to create the full marketplace? You would need to spend a lot of time, but in this tutorial, later on, we will show you how to create marketplace and also show all the functions. But for now, let's start with something simpler. Let's take ERC 4907. This is the rentable contract. You can find the little description here on the main page. So what's that about? It's about renting the NFT, right? Sending them, it expires and goes back. If you would like to check all the functionalities, you can do it by yourselves without the problem. But for now, we just go for the simple deploy to show you how we can manage that contract. So, those are the parameters. If you are familiar with Remix, you also remember that you can pass the arguments while deploying the contract. Here you can also do that, but in the much fancy way. So for example, let's say name double, let's leave it at that, symbol will be double. Royalty recipient, we can set where the all royalties values are going to. So let's leave it at our address because it by default sets our address. And also the royalty BPs that are of the in basis points. It means that currently the royalty will have 25%. So up to you. How much do you want here? Let's leave it at 25 and let's go for the deploy now. Of course, you can choose the network. We are going with the girly in this tutorial. And simple as that, just confirm the transaction. Alright. We got the successfully deployed contract. So here is our main centrum space. So first of all, we have the Explorer with a lot of things like writable and readable options. As you can see, it's very similar to the Etherscan. For example, if you remember that you can call, right, the functions on the verified contract. Also, you can do that via Thirdweb. For example, let's call simple function mint2 to show you how does it work. So we have to specify the arguments. The first will be the address. We can choose ourselves. Not a big deal. And also we can pass the URI. So let's select the image for the token URI then. And as we can see, it instantly uploaded the file on the IPFS. That's not so simple, as you can remember. That's a very cool thing. And now let's try to execute the transaction. Alright, and there you have the output, all the information on the data that began with the transaction. You can check it all here. And there's our function, for example. If you want, we can also try to find out if the balance changed. So maybe let's go for the readable option, balance off. And let's choose us as an owner. And as you can see, we have the one NFT that we already minted, right? This also saw the transaction. Okay, cool. That would be it. You have, of course, a lot of different options to try out by yourself, or if you have any problem, let us know. But let's go to the second tab, which is called Events. So as you can see, we have the transaction hashes here. We have as the first default royalty, owner updated. So while we created the contract, all those informations were needed as they're invented here. And also you have the newly created transfer, which was the transfer of NFTs, right? And all the transactions that will appear in this tab. Yes, you can check all the information. So you have the token ID, right? 0 from 2. So the contract that we created transferred the NFT to our address. Alright, cool. Let's go for the third tab, is the NFTs. So as you can see, we can mint those informations here, the NFTs especially. No media, failed to load NFT metadata because as we think there is no proper metadata passed here, but if you would be interested in minting NFT strictly from the deployed contract, you can try to click mint and check what parameters are needed for that. So as you can see, the name for the metadata, right? The image, the file, also the description, and if you are interested in properties, you can also create the properties here. It's very similar to the OpenSea style. First you try to add trade type and then you set the value for that trade, right? And you can also add the row. Let's check the advanced metadata. Okay, as you can see, you can try to set default background color. It's connected also to the OpenSea. That's cool to know. And if you're interested, you can just have fun with it a little. So now let's get back to the next step, and it will be the code. Alright, so as you can see, the Thirdweb allows you to install their dependencies, and then you can use them to connect and to create components. For example, with React, with any other things like JavaScript, Python, and Go, for example, right? The code changes. Yes, as you can see, let's go for now for the React. And going a little lower, we have reading data and writing data. So you can choose from the functions that are deployed inside the contract. So we have the balance of and any other else, a lot of them. For example, you can choose them. You have the data, the code. Here you have the all information that you can get to your project if you're interested in. We plan to create other videos about implementing such a solutions inside, for example, Visual Studio Code. But if you're really interested, let us know about it, and we will know if we should make more videos, less videos, how does it look. So also skipping the reading data, we have writing data. So that's the functions with passing arguments. You can choose approve. Also, you can check what functions are inside of it. Batch mint to burn mint to multi-call. We already called mint to, so you're choosing mint to. You will have the code to do that via code. That's a very good tool. Let's go to the next step then. These are the settings, so you can choose the metadata or even create better metadata for the contract. So image, name, description. You can set here the royalties. So for example, if you have 25%, you can just pass 15 and you can update, because you'll be allowed to update that, as you can see, and it will be in the form of the transaction. As you can see, royalty settings updated after a while. Let's go down below. Also, you have missing extensions, so you have options for setting platform fee or to add primary sales, but more on it later on or even in the next video, we'll see. Let's scroll up and go for the last tab, which is called sources. So as you can see, those are the sources used to create that contract. If you click, for example, on random one, let's say royalty, you can find the whole code, which is created in Solidity. So we can just check it. If you want to create your own solutions, you would need to use, for example, Visual Studio Code. You would have to extend the Thirdweb, right, and use their options to create it. But this is a very simple concept that you have in few seconds. So let's go back up, and you have options to verify on girly Etherscan. Let's click that. Okay, so we have the information that it's already verified because the contract is verified by itself naturally after creating that on the Thirdweb. Let's go for the address contact to show you that it's verified on Etherscan. So let's get the address contract. Let's go for the girly. And right now, as you can see, the contract is verified. And you can also find the source code. Very simple, very cool.
So this was the medium-sized, more or less, rental NFT implementation, but there are other options with other interesting features, like for example the split option. So let's try it. And here we have the description, which says that when you have some funds on the contract, so you send some funds to it, it splits the funds and then forwards them to the recipients. And the recipients you create while deploying the smart contract. So I'll call it just split without an image. And here I provide the split information. I use 2 random addresses and set the split to 50%. So let's deploy the smart contract. It took a while because, believe it or not, there's actually a real person sitting there and writing those contracts for us. But it's relatively fast, takes like a minute or so. And now we have our functions. So as you can see, distribute without any parameters, so very simple function. And if I send some funds to the smart contract using my MetaMask, then the contract will have the balance required to split the funds. So let's say I send 0.1 if. Now we can check in events whether the contract has the amount. So yeah, it received 0.01 if. And now I'm ready to use the simple distribute function. And now we can see we got a standard response function with all the information we need about the transaction. But what we want to really check is events. And here you can see that now half of the amount went to this address and half of the amount went to the other one. Those 2 addresses are specified while creating the smart contract. So it's a very simple one and an example of something quick that you can create here. But we have the other option, which is a marketplace, which is a pretty large project normally if you create it from scratch. But here you can deploy it just like this. And of course, you won't be able to just create this marketplace and then use it for a real project, because you would have to adjust it and add your branding and adjust some of the features here. But it's really good just to use it as a base, or even as an inspiration, even as an example to see how you can implement it by yourself. So let's create it now. And now let's tweak the settings. So we have advanced configuration, and we can set the platform fees. So let's say I want 5% platform fees on my marketplace. While it's processing, you can see that it says whether the contract is audited or not, or the whole project is audited or not. So you can check the audit by clicking on it and see whether it looks all right to you and whether it's enough so that you can use it as a base in your project. So always make sure to check whether those are legit. And now, as you can see, we generated the whole thing, and we have all of the functions. So if you want to create a new listing, you can just click on create listing. And here you can see that you have a pretty big input. So we need to paste a whole JSON, which looks like this. And this is how the JSON looks like when formatted. So you can see that it requires a lot of information, and that's what you would normally use in your real project. But if you're only interested in checking out fast and in seeing how it works, you can go to listings and create a listing from here. And here you can create it in an interactive way. The only con I can see here is that sometimes it struggles to load the preview of the NFT. So you see that it's bugged in this case, but it's a real NFT behind here. Let's say listing price is 0.01. And as you can see, it asks for the permission to transfer the NFT to the marketplace. And then we have a transaction which will create the listing. As you can see, it's successfully listed for sale, and you can see it on the list. And now when I click on it, I can go to the details, and if I want to cancel it, I just have an option here, and I can cancel it anytime. Now it's delisted and we can't see it anymore on the list. So now you might think, we have the thing working here on the Thirdweb page, but what if I want to create my own marketplace with my own website? And actually you have a few options here. So first, if you go to code, like before, you can create a React app or JavaScript app or whatever app with multiple options here. And it generates a very simple web page for the project according to the type of the project. So for example, for marketplace, it will generate a very simple marketplace that then you can work on and improve and make a full marketplace out of it, but with the smart contracts mostly ready. Of course, unless you have some custom logic for your marketplace and you might require some tweaking. Or also, if you want to create your own website from scratch, or just even create your smart contracts from scratch, but you need some example for all of the functions in the marketplace, how it works, how to implement it, you can just go to sources. And for example, here you have marketplace.sol with all of the functions, all of the dependencies. And here you can see how it works and improve on it or use it in your own project. So I think that's very cool and very helpful, even if you want to create your own thing, but want to see a good example, because it's not always easy to find a reliable one. So if you like our content, make sure to like and subscribe, because we have tons of other interesting videos like this one. And thanks for watching.